And we're live. Okay, welcome, my friends and gems. We are here live. We are going to get started. Whoops, there you go. You see, perfection's not required. A little verbal fumble there. But anyhow, we are getting started right now. We are going to be talking about cell activation patches. And so with us today, we want to get started with Suzanne McGee, who is here to share with us her before and after and how she came into this life-saving technology. Suzanne, thank you for joining us here today.
You're welcome. So thank you for having me.
All righty. So Suzanne, so tell us, where were you in terms of your life's journey? What was going on with you right as you came into contact, with this life-saving technology? What was going on that made you open and receptive to take a leap of faith and get started?
Let's do a quick sound check. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. When I was associated and first introduced to LifeWave, you'll see that my business partner is also on the call with us today. And she and I have been looking at wellness products and holistic products for a long time, probably for at least 25 years.
Wow.
We had never experienced anything like LifeWave as we were told the story. So when it came to me, I felt like I was in fairly good condition. Uh, and I lived a life of a wellness life journey that had produced the results that I wanted. So I was pleased with what was happening in my life. But this was different when they talked about stem cells. And I realized that stem cells are the essence of our whole existence. And as I found out that it wasn't stem cells from someone else, but that it was producing our own stem cells, I was immediately interested. And we started our journey, our life with LifeWave.
Fantastic. Okay, fantastic. So, you happen to be a holistic care practitioner that has a superior amount of knowledge and experience because of not only the 25 years of background, but you also have a vibrational frequency clinic here in Huntington Beach. Isn't that correct?
That's correct. Right on one of our main access roads and Beach Boulevard in Huntington Beach. And it's our frequency center. We help people understand that when they're on the correct frequency, they have an opportunity to live an elevated life. And I believe that we are soon turning the corner to even expand this even more.
Wow. Okay. So why don't you share with us your story then of what are some of the things that you've seen that maybe have wowed and amazed you? Because you have seen probably every lotion, every potion, every gadget, every gizmo, all sorts of, as an entrepreneur, you're probably solicited quite a bit with regards to different technologies and this one is really a game changer in my opinion. So I'd like to hear a little bit about that from your area of expertise and your experience.
Okay. Although I've seen many experiences with other people, I think I'd probably like to take this 10 or 15 minutes to center on our daughter Annalise. We have a large family. We have 6 children. We have 23 grandchildren and 4 great-grandchildren. So I'm the matriarch of a large family. And we've all been involved with health and vitality. Our daughter, she was our second daughter and our third child, and she was a labor and delivery nurse. She was pregnant with her second child. And when she went into the hospital, she had it all planned. It was her floor. Everything was scheduled. She knew exactly her friends were going to be there. But one of her friends got sick at the last minute, and they had an exchange of people on the floor. And someone came on the floor who was new to the labor and delivery methods and the systems that they should be using. And she then went into the hospital. The outcome of that was disastrous. When we expected to receive a call saying, would you like to come see your daughter or pick your daughter up? The call came and it said, if you want to see your daughter alive, be here within the hour.
Oh,
Now, for those of you who know Southern California, we were in Huntington Beach and she happened to be about an hour away with heavy Friday traffic. And
oh,
of course, it was quite a shock to be able to see what happened. But by mistake, the anesthesia that they gave her did not work. So when she came out of delivery, they gave her what they thought was morphine, but instead it was Dilaudid. And they put her on an IV drip
oh my
that
God.
allowed her to control that. Well, for those of you who know much about medication, you know that that was triple the dose of what she should have had. And it only took just about less than an hour, 45 minutes, and she went into a complete anoxia and she was in a coma. So when we got there, I'll never forget, the only thing that we could touch, she was already in an ice tent so that her brain would not swell. And the only thing that we could feel is they let her right hand be out so that we could touch her and communicate through touch when we got there. Well, you can imagine it was heartbreaking, just so heartbreaking. And the outcome was not good because it had been a full anoxia. So that journey went on for a long time, and that journey has still continued, and it's been 17 years now. But we were not given the prognosis that Annalise would have more than just the energy, the capability of a 4 or 5 year old if she came out of the coma at all. And she was in the coma for several months. And truly, when she came out, we did not have much more than what we could do. Our communication with her was very little. And that went on for several years. So, as you can imagine, when we were first introduced to LifeWave and saw that it would do some assistance, great assistance for brain issues and for the cell damage that had been done, we were thrilled. Then we crossed our next hurdle. Her husband would not let us use the patches on her.
Oh my,
And he stopped us from
oh, what?
interacting with her at all. And as we insisted on using this, he blocked us from seeing her. And then we weren't able to see her at all, any communication with her.
Oh my gosh.
Heart-wrenching story. So the great outcome is that finally another year went by, and after 2 years, I finally convinced him that it was a wellness patch and that it wasn't going to do anything at all that was detrimental. And with that, he okayed it with the doctor and the care facility. She lives in a care facility. We only get to see her at interims. And when she started wearing the patch, at that time, she was, I would say, almost non-communicative. She would answer us only with just a few gestures, and we'd ask questions, and she would just shake her head and not much more than that. But after a couple of months, we noticed that her eyes became more bright and she became more attentive. And within about 3 months, she started being responsive to us and she started talking. And rather than just a one sentence answer, she would say, as we came into the room, "Mom, I love you." And as we watched that grow
Wow.
in her communication, where then she would remember things. And then we'd start asking her about experiences that she had with her sisters and brothers and her experiences. And we found that she remembered more and more. And over the past months, it's been almost 2 years now, a year and a half past that time, that she now is able to remember things, have a conversation, be interactive with us. And then we go to the next hump. And the next hump is now she knows when we come and she knows when we leave. And she calls and tells us how much she misses us.
So her,
And that's another hard thing, that we can't take her home and bring her here and care for her.
Mhm.
But we've watched, and the only thing different that we've been able to do were the stem cell patches. And I know you'll ask me, and they went on X39 and AON. We had to reduce the inflammation in the brain. And then we have the X39 with the GHK, the powerful function that it has of being able to upregulate those stem cells. And it has been wonderful. And each month, I would say, if not less than that, we're noticing more and more inner communication with her. And it's a blessing.
Wow, so that's incredible. I had no idea that your daughter had had that tragic mishap, because it sounds like it was just a tragic mishap that took place. And for people who don't know what anoxic means, that means no oxygen. That means that who knows for what period of time, probably at least an hour. I don't know how long it took before her vitals dropped, that the alarms went off, but it probably was, you know, a significant amount of time. It only takes 6 minutes of having the brain deprived of oxygen before you go brain dead. And so for each minute, the only exception to that is if you're in a hypothermic state, which is basically if you're in a super cold environment where you're submerged under, let's say, ice water, because everything, your chemistry changes and everything is slowed down when you are, that's why ice baths and so forth. But obviously she wasn't. She was in a hospital room, and unfortunately they had the wrong IV bag on that drip. I can't believe that's really terrible. So the fact that, luckily your son-in-law did agree finally to put the patches on along with the counsel of the doctors, and the fact that you've been able to see this unprecedented, because 17 years is a long time. And so for 15 years prior to that, the constant was that she didn't have the patches until she did. And then once she had the patches on, thanks to your putting them on her, of course, and, providing them, then of course, then things began to change. Then you, for the first time, which is really unprecedented. When you look at conventional medicine and centralized medicine, they would say, no, the only prognosis here is, especially with aging, that there's just going to be a decline. So instead of things, you turn the boat from things getting infinitely worse to progressing and now getting infinitely better, where now she can communicate, she can speak, her emotions, which tells me that the frontal lobe of the brain is starting to be repaired and regenerated. And we're aware that stem cells are the master smart cells, so they know what's required for vitality. So when the stem cells are doing the cellular repair in the brain, it knows what centers of the brain that have damage, which ones are the priority to keep her alive, and then to move forward in order of importance and significance. So now you're starting to see her personality come back and things like that. So this is really quite extraordinary. That is quite the transformation. And I can't imagine the difference that this is making, not only in her life, and of course your life and your husband's life, but her siblings and also her children. You said that you have 6 children, 23 grandkids, and 4 great grandkids. And so this is affecting not just this family, but anyone who knows her, and all the nurses and all the doctors, anyone who comes in contact her. Make no mistakes, this affects everyone. It's affecting me just at this moment as I hear the story. So is there something that really stands out that you would like, because now you have experience, you have firsthand knowledge, and you have not only your daughter, but I know you have probably not just hundreds, but maybe thousands of people, because you've been using the patches for over 2 years, have you not? When did you actually start on the patches?
3.5 years ago.
3.5 years ago. So I'm seeing you've seen your fair share of stories of incredible things that you never thought were even possible. So if you could say something to someone right now who's just perhaps seeing this for the first time, what would you like to make sure that they absolutely positively knew?
Well, how wonderful it is to be able to have something that's non-transdermal. That means nothing entering into the body. because we have seen Annalise is just the top of the list of many who have used drugs as a solution, and they have not worked out well. And so what I'd like people to see is this is non-transdermal. It's not going to do anything negative. It can only do something positive to the body. And how wonderful it is that we have this opportunity to add light to the soul, light and a transmission that will allow us to wake up some of these stem cells that have been sleeping, and then others that are just coming up and need to come up to a higher variance. I would suggest that anyone hearing this recording would listen, open their heart and try it, open their heart and their mind, because they are probably looking for solutions as we have. And that can be little to falling when someone has fallen and they're trying to recover from a fall, to maybe having an incident with their memory. The scope is really large, Lillian. And I think that if we would just give people the opportunity of saying, unpeel the patch and put it on and see what happens, and the body will do the rest. What a blessing it is to give the body something that it can function with and do what it needs to do.
I would absolutely wholeheartedly agree with you. I think that that's probably some of the best advice that, we can give someone is just try it. You're making an investment in yourself. Only you can decide, to wear this it's a tiny little patch. It's the size of basically a quarter, just a little bit bigger, maybe than a quarter, 3 centimeters in width. And you just simply remove the backing. You just simply twist it. And you see it's very easy to, even people with severe arthritis are able to remove the backing. And then you simply, anywhere where you feel pain, you can point to the pain and patch it. It's my favorite rule. Point to the pain and patch it. Of course, you can always put it on acupuncture points. So if you're looking for patch placement, we can recommend based on what presentation you have of symptoms or what you're trying to resolve and dissolve. We can recommend a place for you to put them to magnify the effects. That's also another option that's available for people. So let's go ahead and get started with the actual information Q&A. We're going to go ahead and share with you what this life-saving technology is, how it works, etc. So as you're aware, we have 11 patches total. I like to talk about the Fantastic Five. We'll only be talking about X39 right now. If you'd like to learn about the other patches or the Fantastic Five, you can come back at 7 tonight. And before we move on with that, I would like to also get into our disclosure, because we have a great relationship with the FDA that we like to maintain. So the patches are not intended to treat, prevent, or cure any disease. We do not heal, cure, treat, or diagnose, nor do we offer any protocols. The suggestions do not replace the diagnosis and treatment by a qualified licensed healthcare professional. And we strongly recommend you consult with your doctor concerning your specific health challenge and treatment needed. Okay, and so these are actually produced in FDA registered facilities. As I said a moment ago, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration in the fall took a new position that all claims surrounding stem cells and healing, even those from natural products, will be regarded as drug claims. So the FDA also asserts that claiming that the use of lights to elevate peptides such as GHKCU is inappropriate for a general wellness product. So as a result, we can't say that, although we do have 90 clinical studies that were done in the United States, in Europe, and in Asia that actually show that, in addition to over 120 global patents that have been approved in 82 countries to date. As of the first of the year, my understanding is that this has changed again, but I'm not sure that all FDA agents are on the same page of music, so it's better to err on the side of caution, and so I'm still sharing that disclosure. So this basically med technology is possible because in 1973, Dr. Lauren Picard discovered that GHKCU copper peptide activated 1/3, it's 33% of previously dormant stem cells, turning genes to a younger, healthier state. So it begs the question, what are stem cells? They're simply pluripotent cells. Pluripotent, what's that, right? Pluri from plural as opposed to singular. Potent potentials, so it just means plural, many potentials. So every single stem cell, they're the master smart cells that have all the information to create everything from a heart cell, stomach cell, fat cell, red blood cell, bone cell, skin cell, nerves, all the information that you need to form you, soup to nuts. Because when you have your mother's ovum and it united with your father's sperm, at conception, you now have complete information to the tune of 23,688 genes and stem cells that immediately start to form you in your mother's womb, and you grow into an embryo, later into a fetus. Fast forward 30 years later, and you go from having 100% of your stem cells to by the time you're 30, 50% of your stem cells turn off. And by the time you're 60 years old, 90% turn off. Now, 50% turn off by the time you're 30, not because they're damaged, destroyed, or disappear. Those stem cells simply go dormant until you put a stem cell activation patch and turn 33% back on. So if you're 30 years old, you apply the patch, you have 83% or more of your stem cells that are now there available to you to do this rapid repair, restoration, and regeneration. Same thing for a 60-year-old. You're 60, 70, 80 years old, you have about 10% of your stem cells left. Now you're going to have about 43% of your stem cells repairing, restoring, and regenerating you. So your body's going to behave basically like that of a 30-year-old who has about 50% of the stem cells. Your body is just like a home. And if you look inside the body, your stem cells are very much like printer ink cartridges. And when you have a brand new ink cartridge, color or black and white, you make copies and the copy is indistinguishable from the original. But when you've used up 80 or 90% of your ink, just like using up 80 or 90% of your stem cells, guess what? That copy is a faded version of the original. And so that brings us to, how do these patches actually work? That's a fantastic question. Technically, they activate GHKCU copper peptide, which we talked about, that Dr. Lauren Picard discovered in 1973. But if you touch your face, if you touch your neck, if you touch your arm, you're going to notice that you're warm. That warmth is evidence of the light, the infrared light that's inside of your body. This is not just what the mystics and the ancients have talked about for thousands of years. They've known that for 3, 4, 5,000 years. However, science is the contemporary language of mysticism. Science has only been around 300 years. We now have devices that we can use, that we can measure the electricity, we can measure the light inside your body. And this spectrograph here is showing you evidence of the electricity, of the light, specifically the infrared band of light that's inside our bodies. That's because every cell, every molecule has electrons. Your bloodstream has electrolytes. So does your spinal cord, by the way. And electrons and electrolytes are packets of electricity. Those packets of electricity have nutrients and have information for your body. And if I were to look at you through night vision goggles, like the military and our law enforcement does, I would see that you glow in the dark. Why? Because when you are looking at the infrared light component of your body, it's not just contained within the skin walls. It actually emanates outside of your pores. So if you were to look at a diamond crystal, let's talk about exactly how the pouches work. And if I were to shine a light, a flashlight, on a diamond crystal, you would see that the light, the source is the flashlight, it bounces off of the crystal, and then it's reflecting back, and we can witness all the different colors of the prism and of the rainbow, right? The same thing is happening with this stem cell activation patch. This, although it looks like a white dot, if you were to look at this under a microscope, you could see that that white dot, in fact, are many, many, many organic crystals. They're organic sugar crystals, organic salt crystals. organic hydrogen, oxygen, and water, as well as a proprietary blend of organic amino acids. And those are arranged in a very specific geometrical pattern and lattice, as well as they're programmed to a very specific frequency, so that the moment you take this patch, you apply it on your skin, it's like a light switch. Automatically, your infrared light, which is about 98.6, 98.7 degrees Fahrenheit in temperature, it's going to bounce off of this crystal lattice. It's behaving just like that diamond, mirroring back your infrared light, 4 inches deep, all the way into the bone, all the way down to your bone marrow. Nothing gets in its way. It's light. So it bounces up to 4 inches deep into your body, and this rapid restore and regeneration takes place. And so while phototherapy has been defined as the use of ultraviolet light for its healing effects, these patches have been specifically developed to reflect light in the infrared and visible light bands back onto the skin where the patch has been placed. So supported by normal electrodermal skin conductance, the human body gives off a number of materials biochemically, including particulate release, which is tiny little particles, gas emissions, ultraviolet, infrared, near infrared, and visible spectrum light. So this then stimulates that area of the skin, producing improved physiological effects. Variations on this phototherapy have been used for at least 100 years. In fact, in that time, we've discovered that there are very little, if any, negative side effects. Basically, you are turning more of you on because you go from 50 or only 10% of your stem cells left to now the amount of stem cells that you had when you were much younger, prior to 20 years of age. So the first documented use of photobiomodulation, it's like, whoa, what's photobiomodulation? That's what phototherapy is. Photo means light, bio, we're biological beings. Modulation simply means movement and change. The Egyptians, we know that the Egyptians, we know that the Incas, the Mayas, the Shaolin monks, as well as the Taoists have used photobiomodulation for thousands of years. But science is only 300 years old, and the first documented case was in 1895. Niels Ryberg Finsen, who later in 1903 won the Nobel Prize for his research in using red light to treat tuberculosis of the skin. And in his experiments with mice, he found that exposing them to red light reduced not only their symptoms, but their mortality rate or their vitality rate, increased their mortality rate, dropped from lupus vulgaris. It's really quite extraordinary if you think about it. It's been over 100 years. We're in 2024, and the first documented case was in 1895. So I want you to notice this patch, all of our patches, they're non-transdermal. That means that nothing transfers into the dermis, which is your skin. These crystals are not absorbed by your skin. They're just mirrors reflecting back your own infrared light. They're also non-invasive. Like I said, nothing invades the skin. They're organic. They're holistic. They're FDA compliant, Class 1 medical devices under the general wellness category. We manufacture our products in FDA registered facilities in the United States, and our facility in Ireland is actually registered with the Irish Medicine Board. And we manufacture all of our products to the same standards as a medical device. In fact, our facility in Ireland is ISO 9001 and ISO 13485. And those are quality standards per our scientist, David Schmidt. Super important to note to drink 50% your weight in fluid ounces of water. Now, if you're not sure that this is a big deal, can't begin to tell you enough how it's so important to drink 50% your weight in fluid ounces of water. I would never tell you what to do, but we know in the wellness community, we know in peak performers, Olympic athletes, anyone who really is not only a student, but is aware of how the human body works, is aware that it's important to drink 50% your weight in fluid ounces of water. Now, we are we're made up primarily of water. A baby that comes out of the mother's uterus, that amniotic sac it was swimming in just prior to birth, comes out pretty juicy. They're about 82% water. Fast forward to the average adult, who's about 65% water. The average 60-year-old is about 55% water. Yet, from conception until your last breath, your DNA is composed of 92% water. That's right. Your DNA, the primary structure that holds your DNA is water, 92%. The other thing is that your brain is very, very hydrophilic. It is composed of 75% or more water. Your brain loves water. And when you become dehydrated, when you feel thirst in your mouth, you're 2% dehydrated. A lot of things shrink in the body when you become dehydrated. Not only does your brain shrink, there are other organs in the body that also start to shrink. And at 8% dehydration, I think you'll be alarmed to see what happens at 8%. This is the hydrated DNA of someone. This DNA is someone who's properly hydrated, drinking 50% their weight or fluid ounces of water or more. This person is 8% dehydrated. And when you reach 8% dehydration, your DNA unravels. It literally starts to fall apart. The myelin sheath on the telomeres starts to disintegrate. Myelin sheath is like a little fat sock that's on each telomere length. It disintegrates, and then the telomere length starts to break off, which shortens your lifespan. 10% dehydration, you lose your mind. Again, the brain is very hydrophilic. It cannot function when you are 10% dehydrated. And at 12% dehydration, you die. It's basically like cement in your body. Nothing can move and flow, and so you pass away. It is game over. So it's important to drink 50% your weight in fluid ounces of water from the time you get up until you go to sleep. A 150-pound person, for example, 150 pounds divided by 2 is 75. That would be 75 ounces of water from the time you get up until you go to sleep at night. That's the equivalent of 2.2 liters of water, or about 5 water bottles. You know, your Sparkletts water bottle, or your Aquafina or Pana, or whatever brand it is that you like. Not that I'm suggesting you have to drink brand water, but you should be drinking, never drink tap water, and definitely don't drink microwaved water. You want to drink good quality water, bottled water of some sort, or filtered water at the very least. We're going to be wearing these patches every day, 12 hours on, 12 hours off. We're going to be honoring the rhythms of the body, the circadian rhythms. But you have a sympathetic nervous system and a parasympathetic nervous system. So we are beings, all life form is Bluetoothed and connected to the rhythms of the earth. We have 12 hours of daylight, basically, sunrise to sunset, and then you have sunset to sunrise. And you have to honor the sympathetic nervous system, which is when your brain is in a beta brainwave state. While you're watching this broadcast, you have a high beta brainwave state because you're alert, you're energetic, you're actually learning something. And then after sunset, you go into a parasympathetic mode where it's the rest and digest system. So we are on 24-hour cycles. And so we're going to match the 12 hours that you signaled of regeneration and restoration with 12 hours of rest, repair, and restore. In the image here on the bottom right, we're showing you that you can overlap the patches as you wear multiple patches. Just the adhesive overlaps. You want to maintain the integrity of this crystal lattice because that's what's giving the signal for this particular patch to do its job. Does that make sense? Okay. Good thing to note also is that your fibroblasts begin to decline at age 25 in their production of collagen. Collagen being the #1 protein in the body, which brings me to water and hydration and what that has to do with proteins. Did you know that when you're dehydrated, your proteins fold? That's right. When you are dehydrated, your proteins fold and it interrupts something inside your body called the Krebs cycle. You don't need to remember the Krebs cycle. That's not so important. What is important to know is that when your proteins fold, that begins the beginning of symptoms and the malfunction of different organs and organ systems in the body. So think about yourself. If I were to be told, or if something happened where I had to be folded in half, my head was at my knees for the remainder of the day, I would not be able to be on this broadcast, wouldn't be able to feed myself, wouldn't be able to bathe myself. There's very little, if anything, that I'd be able to do, or you for that matter, right? Same thing is true with your proteins. They don't work when they're folded in half. So drink your water, 50% your weight. You don't have to do anything I tell you to do, but I would highly recommend if you want to keep the foundation of your health and well-being, the very basic thing that you can do is drink good water, 50% your weight in fluid ounces. So I want to share with you this person here who, after just 4 weeks of being on the patches, she was on 39 and Ice Wave. Ice Wave happens to be the only patch we have that doesn't repair anything, does have a therapeutic effect, but it turns off pain receptors. And the studies show that it is actually more powerful than hospital-grade morphine. You can see that this person's scapulas or shoulder blades are pronounced and sticking out in the back of her spine. You can see that her left shoulder is higher than the right. You can visibly see the curvature of her spine. You can see that she has a nice hourglass figure on the right, but not so much on the left. And she's clearly slanted to the left. After just 4 weeks, her spine is straightened out. It's not perfect yet, but it's markedly, significantly improved. And you could see that her shoulders are more balanced and she has experienced a lot more pain relief. Her pain relief has dramatically dropped in that 4-week period. The next person here, we have a gentleman who is having obviously dysregulation of melatonin in his body. Melatonin is what gives our skin color, excuse me, our eye color, our hair color. And so you can see that there's a dysregulation. So he has parts where he doesn't have an even skin tone. And so you can see that over the course of a year, he has a fairly significant dramatic improvement in his melatonin and other systems of the body. You could see he's much healthier looking now than he did when he began, as well as a rejuvenating effect that is clearly witnessed here. Here's a friend of mine, Kathy, who lives in Nevada, and she started on the patches. She was 62 years old in January of 2022. The thing that had plagued her for 33 years were 3 breast implants that caused her autoimmune disorder. She had a very long list of symptoms and pain points as a result of that. And 33 years of doctors and experts, no one had been able to really provide her reparation or relief until she started on these patches, at which time we told her to make sure that she took a picture before she got started on the patches and every 30 days thereafter. Thank goodness she did, because otherwise we wouldn't have this. So here we have in January. Now this is an outward manifestation of what's kind of going on. It's giving us an indicator what's going on inside too. You can see her neck and her chest. She had a fair amount of wrinkles and fine lines. And then in March, there's a pretty significant improvement. June, the wrinkles are gone. You could see that the skin texture is markedly improved. It's much more moist, much more subtle, right? Just a hint of lines. And by July, fine lines, wrinkles, all gone. Now, when she first put this up on Facebook, this was October of 2022, I saw it and I said, oh my gosh, these are great pictures. I'm going to share it to my Facebook and to my other social media. I said, but I got on a Zoom with her and I said, is there any chance I could get you to share your story of transformation, soup to nuts? Because I want them to see these pictures. I also want them to see your face, and I want to have them see that your face and your neck and your chest actually match you in the video. And oh, by the way, would you send me your profile picture? She said, oh, I'd love to do the Zoom, no problem. And yeah, you can post it everywhere, but I don't do profile pictures. So no, I'm not gonna, that's a no for the profile picture. I don't take pictures of my face ever. I was like, okay, no problem. I go, just happy to have you on the Zoom. So we did the Zoom that October, and then I sent her the Zoom link. And then shortly thereafter, it was great. You can watch that on my YouTube channel, but you'll see that, because anyone can say, well, this profile picture that was doctored up, it was photoshopped, it's, whatever. But you'll see, just as in this video, I can't change the texture of my skin, the color of my hair, any of those things. So you'll see that that actually matches these pictures for her. The next picture, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because there's podcasts and YouTube channels that have interviewed me about my story. But you're looking and talking right now to someone who no longer has brain damage. I was hit by a bus just 3 blocks shy of finishing a 16-mile bike ride in 2017. The point of impact was my lower left back side of my head, my lower back. I went flying. That caused all sorts of neurological issues and hormonal disbalances, and it throws your body in not only shock, but terrible pain, as you can only imagine. I also had a laceration from my ankle to my knee. And so one of the things that I lost was my short-term memory. I had zero short-term memory, and I was unaware of it for the first 2 years that I suffered with this. Luckily, my long-term memory was intact, but my short-term memory, I had none. So I had to repattern my brain to regain my short-term memory. And so I had regained a good amount of that before I got on the patches, but I still would struggle to memorize and to remember things that were short-term. And it took quite a bit of engagement, we should say, not only reading things over and over again out loud and in silence, highlighting, writing notes 3 to 5 times the same information to get it to commit to memory. 4 weeks later on the patches, I was making my way reading through all 90 clinical studies, and I read the IceWave, the IceWave medicine study. And I was really impressed immediately by the 4 key words, which were organic, nanotechnology, photobiomodulation, and acupuncture points. I thought to myself, wow, we need to use this language when we describe these patches to people, because they're very clean and they're very succinct and they're very exact. And then when I went to read the abstract, if you read a lot of clinical studies, you'll see that a lot of them are not very clear, and you have to really pay close attention to what and extract what it is that the abstract, which is just a summary of the entire paper. Some of the papers are a couple pages long. Some of them could be 30 pages long. So this one was actually very well written, and it said that the IceWave, it was the IceWave organic nanotechnology using traditional Chinese medicine, acupuncture points, applying photobiomodulation, effectively and significantly increased the activation of the turning off the pain receptors in all of the subjects, anywhere from 50 to 100% within 3 to 4 minutes of application of the patches. So as I read that, I thought, I got to commit that to memory. So I literally, it was a morning, I took the paper, I set it down, I got to highlight that, I got to make notes, and I figure I'll do that later. And then I went on to a Zoom very similar to this. Someone asked me something about the IceWave pain management patches, and literally I could see the paper in my head, and I was able to recite it without having to memorize it, learn it. There was no effort to recall it. And I thought, oh my gosh, my memory is better than it has been since the accident, and it's as good as it was when I was pre-med at USC. And then in that split second, I remembered that in November of my kindergarten year, I had had eye surgery. And when I had eye surgery, I was in the hospital for a week. My eyes were patched after they worked on the muscles. And I remembered I had general anesthetics for that surgery. So actually, my first TBI wasn't when I got hit by a bus. That's a traumatic brain injury. My first brain injury was when I had that general anesthetic when I was 5 years old. Because what people don't know is that when you're put under general anesthetics, there are 4 things that happen to you. The 4 things that the anesthesiologist does when he puts you under GA is, number 1, amnesia. They wipe out your memory. Number 2, hypnosis. Number 3, analgesia, which is turning off your pain receptors. And number 4, paralysis. They paralyze you. And they do that with the general anesthetics. Basically, it's a monitored and induced coma. And they do that not out of malice, but because they know that the body keeps score, the brain keeps score, and the body keeps score. It's traumatic for the body to be cut into. So in order to give you the best odds of recuperating, that is the process for general anesthetics. And so I had the recognition and realization that in kindergarten, that was my first brain damage suffered because of general anesthetics. So my entire academic career, I never had the benefit of full short and long-term memory until now. And it's only gotten better. And I was amazed at how effortless. It took no effort to learn, to memorize. It was an instant recall. So that was evidence of how quick my brain processing speed was, which was a big difference from before. So moving on. Here's a gal, her name is Gail Henry, and she has a curvature of the spine prior to putting the patches on. She also had a fair amount of pain. You can clearly see the folded skin on the back here. And after less than 2 months of being on the patches, she has a significant, the pain, first of all, reduced, and her curvature of her spine was reduced. And you could see that the fold of flesh is gone in less than 2 months of being on the patches. I also like to point out, look at all the moles, freckles, age spots, cholesterol spots, oxidative stress evidence that's on her skin here. And you could see how much better, how much clearer her skin is just 2 months of being on the patches. Pretty impressive, wouldn't you agree? Okay, so we're going to wrap this up here. I'd like to share with you the bullet points, and then we're going to open whatever questions if you have any. This is the mother cell activation patch. This is called a sleeve. There are 30 patches in each one of these. So as soon as you apply this cell activation patch on your body, it resets 1/3 of your genes to a younger, healthier state. That's 33%, like a light switch on. Generates cells by replacing whatever damaged cells are with new cells. Restores collagen, rebuilds scar tissue by replacing it with the original tissue. Reduces fine lines and wrinkles, increases energy, sexual libido, antioxidants, anti-aging, anti-inflammation. If you have pain, people have pain relief anywhere from 50 to 100% within 3 to 4 minutes. As I've traveled throughout North America as well as Europe, every person that I've come in contact that has either a migraine or has a headache, I patch them with X39 as well as the ice wave. We'll put this on their neck bump, which if you take your dominant hand, you touch the bottom of your neck, the top of your spine, that first bump, that is governing vessel 14. It's a very powerful acupuncture point where your brain stem branches out into your spinal column, signaling your autonomic nervous system. We just put that patch back there, and then you take ice wave, the tan on left, the white on right on the temple, and within 30 seconds, no more than 3 to 4 minutes, I have yet to have anyone, every single person tells me their pain level drops about 50%, or it's completely gone. It really is remarkable how quickly your stem cells go to work as soon as you apply the patch. And bear in mind, these patches don't have stem cells. They have crystals that act like mirrors to reflect back your light. There are no cells in the crystal. All the cells are already in your body. Your body is the battery that operates this device. Okay. We also have a recommendation advice. We don't have protocols, but we do have what I call Veritas Concilium. It's just a true plan of action, where to put the patches. We recommend either on, they all come with their little instruction booklet, but the 2 points that were used for the studies, all 90 of them that were done throughout the world, is on your neck bump that we just touched a few minutes ago. And the second point is your conception vessel 6, which is just 3 finger widths below your belly button. That is responsible for anything related to conception, reproduction, digestion, hormones. So that's a great acupuncture point. I like to tell people, point to the pain and patch it, because you can signal that area of the body first before anything else. All right, remember to drink 50% your weight in fluid ounces of water. The other thing to note about the mother stem cell activation patch is that it elevates your natural glutathione levels by 30%. Your glutathione is in fact responsible for your immune system and detoxifying you. And in the research papers about the glutathione, it tells us that when you wear the patches for a period of just 4 weeks, it produced a highly significant improvement in physiologic functional status. Listen up to these particular organs if you have any issues with these organs, because this is only going to help. Pancreas, liver, gallbladder, intestines, left and right adrenal, hypothalamus, and your pituitary gland, and a very significant improvement in your pancreas with a statistical power of at least 72%. So stated differently, all of the organs achieved a significant cellular, physiologic, functional status improvement compared to the baseline for power of at least 91%. All right. The other thing to note is, because you're wearing this patch, some of the damage that you receive from things like blue light toxicity, we get blue light toxicity from your laptop, desktop, iPads, notepads, cell phones, from all the LED lights in houses and places of work and business, your refrigerator, like our kitchens, our cars, our trains, our automobiles. We're bombarded with LED lights from everywhere. And did you know that LED light destroys the DHEA fountain of youth hormone in the body, increases inflammation, and increases insulin resistance, excuse me. But when you wear the patch, it unrings the bell of that damage. You're like, why should you care about your mitochondria being dysregulated? Because when you have these things happen, inflammation, insulin resistance, and the DHEA is destroyed in your body, that breaks, it dysregulates your mitochondria, which is the organ inside each of your cells. You have 56 trillion cells in the body. So the mitochondria is broken and it can't produce energy in the form of ATP until you apply this patch. And now you have the protection as well as the regeneration of whatever has been damaged. Okay, so let's open it up for questions. Does anybody, Karen, do you have any questions? You have to unmute. Yes,
Oh my gosh, that was such a great presentation. How could I have any questions? You covered everything. Oh my gosh, that was amazing.
thank you. Thank you. I'm glad that
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, that
you're,
was so good.
you're welcome. You're welcome. I so appreciate, I accept, I receive, I embrace that compliment with honor and with humility. Thank you so much. Yeah, I want to make sure
Oh,
it's
my
very important to me
pleasure.
that we answer all of your questions. Anyone who's watching this broadcast now, whether it's on Zoom or you're watching it on YouTube, please make sure you get back to the person who referred you to this video because they can make sure that they can get back to you and answer any and all questions that you might have. We have a very large team of doctors and holistic care practitioners. If there's something that they specifically can't answer, trust me, they have the resources, they have the people. We have hundreds of thousands of hours of experience in just about anything and everything you can imagine. So we are here to help you. We're here to answer your questions and to make sure that you move forward, progressing with your health and well-being. Okay, we're going to wrap up then with how much it costs. And then you always get back to the person who referred you to this so that you can move forward, right? Makes sense. So how much does it cost? So, well, we obviously can't charge you $1 million, although a lot of people would be willing to pay $1 million to repair and restore their bodies, especially if you've had something awful happen to you, right? Because if you don't have your health, you don't have your health. And we know that traditional stem cell therapies, it's very illegal in the United States, but you can go overseas. And I've had many, I just started a girl last week who paid $25,000 a session. She had a car accident 2 years ago and still is not well. And that's what got her motivated to get started on the patches. Now, these patches, you can get started. You can get on the path of wellness and restoration for just $5 a day. So for the price of just 1 or 2 cups of coffee, like 1 or 2 Starbucks a day, you can get started on the patches. And if you're willing to buy 3 months or more in advance, then you can bring your price down by as much as 50%. So I'm going to share, I like to be very transparent with you guys. I'll share with you my doctor wholesale form. Again, get back to the person who referred you to this broadcast. This is not available on the website. On the website, you would be paying retail, but I love to have people have their cake and eat it too. And on a doctor wholesale pack, you also get free product and there is no obligation for you to be on a 6-month auto ship or anything to that effect. You have a lot more flexibility. So I don't know about you, but I like flexibility. I like free product. And so just get back to the person who referred you to. If you want to read those 90 clinical studies or share them with your doctor or want to look at one in particular, you can go to startx39now.com. Just check that out. There's nothing to buy there. It's just an educational site. You'll see a 2-minute, a 3-minute, and an 18-minute video at the beginning. And then there's a reel with several testimonials. And then you'll see a button that says scientific studies. And the other one will say the patents. So you'll be able to neuro nerd out like I like to and satisfy yourself with all the information there at your fingertips in one spot. All right. If you are, as many professionals, you guys are super busy, don't have time to get on a Zoom or a phone call, you've binge watched and done your research, you know that you want to get started. If you want to get started and just want the to get started text, which is just basically it's asking you this information, your personal information and your payment information so that we can enter that into the back office. And then of course you send the symptoms that you have so that we can pair you with the best patches that would be good for you. All right. To watch a replay of this, you can go to Love and Money Secrets TV on the YouTube channel, or you can go to DameLillianWalker.com because that points to the YouTube channel. Here's the last opportunity for you to do a screenshot of the bullet points of just the mother X39 cell activation patch. And I want to, I already reminded you to get back to the person who referred you, so I just wanted to thank you for your time and attention. And I want to thank Suzanne McGee for your wonderful story, for your time and attention today. We really, truly appreciate you. Thank you, my beautiful friend and Jem. All right, signing off. Ciao for now.